Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa, but if you are one of my curious subscribers and you've been following along, then you already know that you can call me Missy. Today, we're continuing my series of reading this antique self-help book titled Personality: How to Build It. So far in the book, we have defined personality as a person of note. There are people of note who happen to have been born in the correct circumstances, people of privilege. And there are people of note who become such because of their particular skills in art, writing, music, what have you. After that, the book outlined some qualities that one must possess in order to form personality. And then the chapter after that went over how we need to be paying attention to what other people think in order to become essentially popular, because in the end, that's what it's all about.
It's all about popular.
If you're interested, those other chapters are on a playlist on my channel. But if you just want to dive in from here, stick around. We're going over chapter 4, which is Caution: Rational and Clear-Sighted. That's mysterious. Today in my studio, I am joined by my husband. This is Corby. He's my best friend, my biggest fan, my partner in crime, and he's going to be... Let's shimmy on over to the book. Buckle up, because here it comes. Considering that life is a great battlefield on which human beings, all adversaries, fight for... Okay, sorry. I was just, confused for a moment. Apparently, all human beings are adversaries.
Well, yeah, they're fighting for personal victory in order to hold a commanding position, one that must possess the important quality of prudence.
Yeah, good thing we chose this back-to-back thing, because it really highlights that we are oppositional forces. No, back-to-back, we're oppositional to each other.
I can be oppositional like this.
Fight for a personal victory. In order to hold a commanding position, one must possess the important quality of prudence. Is prudence not the same thing as shrewdness?
Prudence is the art of avoiding dangers. Yet how can dangers be avoided when one does not see them, does not even suspect them?
You're right, the definition was right there in the book. How can they, though? I suppose dangers can be avoided just by being, not superstitious, suspicious?
Lucky?
There's that. What am I thinking about, though? I'm not thinking suspicious, just constantly suspicious of other people.
2 brain cells off to find a word.
As you were.
It's such an easy word to see.
Paranoid. That's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for. Is that what they're suggesting here? That one be paranoid? It kind of sounds like it, like they're already pitting everyone in the world against each other. You start off on a road that looks level and serene under a bright sun. What reason is there for being prudent where one sees no obstacles? Guess at them, suspect them, hunt for them. You will not then be simply prudent. You will be paranoid and maybe a little crazy. Your prudence will have stretched itself to the borders of a tendency less noble, but without doubt adroit and rich in good results. This is caution. Caution signifies incessant dread of danger, incessant suspicion of evil about one. They really are saying just be really, really freaking paranoid, aren't they?
Well, and it's weird because they're painting it as a good thing, but also using terms that do not sound appealing.
Incessant dread of danger?
Right? Your prudence will have stretched itself to the borders of tendencies less noble. Just constantly think that the worst is going to happen and you won't be disappointed.
Only to the borders of a tendency less noble. You don't want to cross that line, and there is a line. We just don't know where it is. So just, at this point, Hopefully they'll draw a line somewhere. Carefully exercised, without excess, in balance and reason, caution is an immeasurable resource in life. It is the parent of surety and success. In considering life as a battlefield, on considering life as a battlefield, we will continue then. At evening, before the morrow's encounter, the armies of the enemy arrive and bivouac? What's bivouac?
I want to say it's like attack. Besiege, bivouac. A temporary camp without tents or cover, used especially by soldiers or mountaineers.
Camps are set up in the fields. This feels very literal. I'm sure it's meant to be figurative, right? But like, how do you figuratively camp outside of somebody's...
Psyche.
Yeah, I guess.
You can do pranks and stuff, I guess.
You just do pranks.
Just prank them. It's the
Pranking
noblest art of attack.
Prank your enemy. Every chance you get, prank him.
Basically, all of war is pranking. It's just lethal.
It's lethal pranking.
I bet you weren't expecting this.
I'm just imagining like generals in their tent, like planning their next attack, except for all of their language is prank language. They're like, we must have the element of surprise for this prank to work. We shall prank them from the left, and then we'll prank them from the right. But we'll have a secret reserve of pranksters.
I thought you were gonna go with, like, some... This is my Sigma bro.
They'll be thinking that the threats are here and here, but they won't know that the real threat is over here.
The real threat was inside them all along.
The real threat was the laxatives we slipped in their coffee this morning. Is it sufficient to post about these camps, sentinels here and there at different stations? Certainly not. From one side or another, scouts are sent to reconnoiter the situation, lay of the land, its occupants and possible dangers. Prudence is the well-guarded camp, surrounded by sentinels. In the tents, each man carries his gun in readiness for attack or defense. Caution orders scouts with velvet tread to glide through the night, search the woods, examine hollows. They stoop over ditches, twist and examine the thickets, cleverly question the country people, enter their houses, and find out if they are innocent or guilty of conspiracy with the enemy. This seems really oddly specific. But also it occurs to me that the guards of the camp are PR people.
That could work. You could use that as an analogy. If you entirely put the metaphor as the defending and or attacking entities are singular people, then you can think about like what tendencies you might have within yourself that would sabotage your personal growth and defense of your self-esteem, self-worth, that sort of thing.
Or you can set up a fake Twitter account in order to follow your haters and viciously mock them at every turn. He was probably thinking about Twitter haters in 1915.
You can also tell how old this book is by how much space is around each page.
It's really wonderful. Like you can really feel, like you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
It's
can
a very
feel the
old
printing
paper.
press on it.
Mm.
Yeah. That like the letters were pressed into the page and they're very
Right.
thick so that,
Thick sheets, yeah.
yeah. It's really cool. Like what is the antique version of stalking somebody's Twitter account?
The spies.
Was it just having friends that like were friends with people like frenemies? Was it just having frenemies? Maybe?
Those are called neighbors.
To scent out danger is profitable caution. Nevertheless, do not exaggerate the value of caution. Do not make it a defect that amounts to a sickly weakness, an unbalanced condition of mind. Keep in this, as in all things, an even tenor. Have caution that is alert, but unsuspected. Never let anyone guess your lack of confidence. You are gifted, for instance, with a beautiful voice.
Have caution, but not too much caution. And don't let your caution be suspected. And also, don't let your definite lack of confidence be guessed at.
Well, it's like don't let people see your spies.
Sure.
Don't let them figure out that you are a spy. Be a spy. You are gifted, for instance, with a beautiful voice. What is more, you have a talent for singing. It is praiseworthy and agreeable that you should create for yourself a personality in this art. You are recommended to a capable professor. You are told that you should not only make an artist of yourself, but study with the idea of achieving a career. The only drawback to the project is that the professor is very expensive. What does prudence suggest? Do not decide too quickly. Deliberate. Examine into the matter seriously. Weigh your inclination for the art, the cost of the lessons, the reliability of the teacher. How does caution, that sees evil and peril everywhere, advise you? Being recommended a capable professor isn't necessarily evil unless somebody's like recommending somebody who's a swindler and then they're just going to steal your money and not teach you how to sing well.
Well, and I wouldn't say that caution necessarily sees evil everywhere, but sees everywhere evil could be.
I think in this case though, right, it's a case of like a modern lens on the word, right? Because I feel like back in the day, people used the word evil a lot more lightly to refer to anything that is not beneficial to the person.
Like tomatoes.
I think that they did in fact think tomatoes were evil at one point, like...
Those are my kind of people.
I had heard somewhere, and this could be completely wrong, but I had heard somewhere that when tomatoes were first brought over from the Americas, people were eating them off of pewter dishes, and the acids in the tomato actually extracted some of the lead from the pewter, causing people to get sick when they ate tomatoes. So they thought tomatoes were poisonous. The idiots. Find out if the price of the lessons is really the same for you as for others. Assure yourself that you are not being duped. Thus, get an exact idea of the mentality of the man you don't know. If he is so good, he has an artistic value and the consequent value of connections. Find out these connections and how terms have been made. Beware of the adventurer. Beware of the adventurer? Who's the adventurer?
I would say that that's the uncautious personality that just wants to go for it. Right? They're saying that you should be conscientious of what you're getting into and only follow through once you realize that, oh, okay, this person is actually legit.
I feel like the adventurer is now an ominous character in this book. I know it's not a storybook, but like now it is. And we need to figure out who the adventurer is. All this must be carefully weighed, examined with tact, audacity, and discretion, under cover of indifference or idle curiosity and talk. When your information is complete, draw your conclusions and decide. The people from whom you have drawn your information will never guess what you have done. The professor will never know with what suspicions you have blackened him in order to discover his true faculties. You will reap all the profit of your work and study. Nobody will be offended. You alone will be aware of the ideas back in your own head. The study of caution resembles the art of refining certain metals. Thus. Okay, so we're going to go into the art of refining metals as a metaphor for being cautious, because we haven't had enough metaphors yet. We had the war metaphor, now we're going to have the metal metaphor.
Well, and it's also a little presumptive of the author to presume that your prospective music teacher doesn't also have caution and is checking out the people that you know for your connections.
That's true, right?
We have to triple our caution to counteract their caution.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if they are a scam artist and you're known for being cautious, they're going to be cautious about being scammy with you. Doesn't mean they're not going to try to scam you. It just means that they're going to be better about it.
We really want the best from our scammers.
We want our scam artists to really give it their all. We want to keep them on their toes. We want to make sure that they're not just like calling you up and saying, "Hello, I am Prince from Nigeria." And you're like, "Well, how come you sound Russian?" And they're like, "This is Nigerian accent." And you're like, "I'm not sure about that." And they're like, "It is. Why would you think it's not? Why would I lie about this?"
You think that I'm Nigerian or Russian? Why don't you push like and subscribe? Leave comment. You tell us what we sound like.
Okay, so let's get into this metal analogy. Picture this, okay? They are covered with dirt and put in a furnace. When the time is ripe for the effect of the heat on the molecules, the metal is taken out and cleaned off of its artificial envelope. It appears a refined metal. In order to know the professor's real worth, you covered him in your imagination with suspicions. One by one, you studied these suspicions. One by one, they were destroyed and replaced by a contrary quality. You established his worth through your clear-sightedness.
That is worded so weirdly. Not a contrary quality, but a quality contrary to your suspicion.
Yes. I'm still trying to just understand, like, why are you covering... I was thinking, like, the metal was, like, just covered in dirt because you just pulled it out of the earth. But it sounds like
You're encasing it.
you did it on purpose. And I don't know anything about metallurgy or refining metals. So this metaphor doesn't work for me because I just don't understand the process of refining metals. I also didn't know anything about war.
They're basically saying don't take someone's, how you see someone as their actual value, right? Cover them in suspicions, and as you remove those suspicions and in realizing their good natures, in respect to why you want to be around them in the first place, and you will find their actual value.
Yeah. Through your clear-sightedness. Thus, caution must also be rational in order to be prudence, and not an absolute wrong belief in evil. Thus you may say, "Such a one seems a good man, yet he may only be wearing the mask of goodness. Let's wait and see." But you should not say, "Such a one seems a good man, perhaps he only wears a mask. He must certainly be bad." The latter opinion is caution, vicious and detrimental. The former, wisdom and prudence. So that's the line. They did explain where the line is. Between just being like a
Not
paranoid...
very well, because all the way up to this point, I thought that they were using caution as a good word, as a synonym for prudence. And come to find out that apparently caution is bad on their...
I think they're both caution. But like there's good caution and then there's bad caution.
Yeah, I feel like they should have used like you were saying, paranoia or whatever.
Yeah. Why is caution properly exercised useful in acquiring personality? That's the $1 million question right there. And literally $1 million because they promised riches at the beginning of this book. When I was a child, I had an adventure of which I should like to tell you. Uh-oh, beware the adventurer! The adventure! The author is the adventurer! Because he had an adventure, that makes him the adventurer.
The child adventurer.
The child version of the author of this book, we should beware him. When I was a child, I had an adventure of which I should like to tell you. From it, we shall later draw conclusions adapted to the idea which concerns us. Going for a walk alone near a big ford, where at night the stock of the farm went to drink, I discovered among the reeds on the bank, completely sheltered from the path which overhung the shore, the nest of a waterfowl.
Adventure afoot.
There were 3 eggs in it. As we know, storytelling, 3 is a very important number. Much excited and very happy, I ran to the village. Meeting another boy, I told him of my discovery. We started off together for the place where the mysterious nest was hidden. Only to look at it, I thought. When we got there, my companion screamed like a peacock, commenced to stamp around, and dashed into the reeds. Alarmed for the safety of the pretty nest, I forbade him to touch it. I also began to scream, pleading with him, wept. The little rascal flew into a terrible rage, mauled me about until he pushed me into the water and threw stones at me. Then he seized the nest and ran away with it, leaving me alone to get out of the ford. My feet stuck in the mud. I was overcome with fear, and beside myself with sorrow at the rape of the pretty nest of the poor bird, which had been scared into the taller bushes and clucked shrilly. Human beings are like the little comrade in my story. Never confide in them the discovery of anything. They will possess themselves of it and leave you there poorer, alone, and destitute. If you have no fear that they will take your treasure, at least have fear of their envious jealousy, which is enemy of all personality, of everything except the ordinary and commonplace. Envy is the great enemy of personality. They already said that. They're saying it again.
Well, before it was the great enemy. Now it's just the normal enemy.
Great animal.
Try to root it out and disarm it. Make it helpless. Here is another story to elucidate our dry definitions. 2 young friends, both painters, were much attached to each other and very poor. One day, one of these young men confided to the other a stroke of good luck that had come to him. He had found a rich collector who was in love with his style of painting. Fortune was on its way. A sting of envy suddenly poisoned the friendship of the friend still in obscurity and difficulty. He was unhappy because he did not share this good luck. Together, they go to their home. The chosen one of the collector shows with pride the painting which has been picked out, sold, ready to be packaged. The friends have supper and go to bed. An hour passes. The jealous one does not sleep, but pretends to snore loudly. This is premeditated. Premeditated articide. I can see what's going to happen. I already know. I'm a
Straight up pranks.
straight up pranks. The other does not sleep either. He is too excited over his success, but also pretends to sleep, ashamed of his excitement and enervation. Suddenly, the jealous one gets up, listens, glances around, then slips quietly out of the room. Surprised, his friend in turn gets up, listens, glances around. What is his comrade doing? Why does he go with stealthy steps into the dark studio? The young man follows, hides in the doorway, and watches. The jealous one has uncovered the painting that is sold. He goes to the window, through which a clear, cold moon is shining. His teeth grind in rage as he talks to himself. Then, with a quick movement, he stands before the picture and, seizing a paintbrush, flourishes it in sketching motion toward the canvas. The one watching suddenly understands. Transfixed with horror and grief, he gives one cry and rushes back to his bed. The evildoer aghast runs after him. What happens? The broken-hearted friend makes up his mind what he must do. Repentant, he comes to the bed stammering. Pardon, I was mad. Envy, jealousy. The other moved as if waking from a deep sleep. Hey, what? Why did you cry out? Did you see me? See whom? What? Did I cry out? I was asleep. Why are you waking me up? What's the matter? Reassured, the traitor keeps quiet, then gets back to bed and this time goes to sleep.
What?
Okay, so in the story,
What use?
the story is so much more elaborate than it needs to be. To illustrate his point, all that needed to happen was for the jealous friend to go screw up the painting and then have the successful friend get up and be like, what happened to my painting? So now jealousy has ruined it. The first one should have slept with his eyes half open. End of story. But no, he's made it so elaborate. Here's the genius of H. Laurent. He has a simple point to make, but he has to make an elaborate story to really draw you in so that you can just, like, be famous already. Then, the other gets up. He examines his painting, finds it intact, and puts it silently away in a safe place. Early the next morning, he carries it off to the purchaser. Thus, envy does harm, works destruction. Detected, disarmed, it is ineffective. This rescue of the successful painter was due to a clear-sighted and adroit caution. Act like the friend of the painter.
Honestly, this whole thing is so convoluted. Now he's getting points because he successfully let his friend ruin his painting.
No, he didn't.
Then,
He screamed, right? He said something, so the other guy didn't have a chance to ruin the painting.
oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was he actually got something on there, and then his friend just, went out and magically found it fine and put it away.
Yeah. But no, this is a success story. The success of somebody who was excited and therefore he wasn't actually suspicious of his friend. He just happened to be in the right frame of mind at the right time, honestly.
Right.
Act like the friend of the painter. Mistrust and watch those who are jealous. Discovery never makes an enemy for you. You are forewarned, but keep quiet. Feign ignorance in holding yourself intelligently on the defensive. Envy is a wall which raises itself between friendships. Do not give way to the wall, for the chances are that in falling it will probably crush someone, perhaps you. The general principle is that everyone out of the ordinary has enemies because he is superior. That's it. That's why you shouldn't be a people pleaser, because it means you're inferior. If you don't have enemies, you suck.
Yeah. Not even worth being someone's enemy.
Worthless, good for nothing, amicable person.
But they're also saying that you should do this in some way to try and retain your friendship, but do you want to have friends that if they think that you are not paying attention, will ruin your success for their own personal gratification?
I guess it depends on how deeply ingrained this person's failings are, right? Like, was this a moment of weakness and he would never do it again? Or is this like something where he's gonna keep trying to sabotage you? In which case, you're better off burning that bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. But I think that they're saying, like, don't burn the bridges in case the bridge sets your castle on fire, because it's actually your drawbridge and it's attached to your castle, and now the whole thing's up in smoke.
Yeah. Didn't see that one coming, did you, Prudence?
Look at us. New metaphors. Human beings have a horror of being dominated. They want to stand alone. They hate naturally that which towers above them. They are jealous of anyone more independent than themselves. Instinctively, they cast an obstacle in the way of one who surpasses them. Be cautious then, and while being cautious, be superficially unsuspecting and calm. Always remember this: no one is more spiteful than an enemy who knows that he has been detected. To impress one's established personality, one must be congenial with others. Cater to the judgment of others until it becomes favorable. It is certainly not an easy task, but in this world one acquires nothing without effort, and after you have worked over yourself to bring out your originality, you must raise above the common herd. You must make the best of what you have before men, just as your particular endowment has come to a life of its own from the chaos of your being. This is the unique goal to strive for. It is the great impulse that should form the central point of your determination. And again, remember this: it is not men who govern life, it is their desires. La Rochefoucauld. La Rochefoucauld. La Rochefoucauld says.
Alright, comment down below. How would you say that phonetically?
La says, human desires are the motive power of all men. They cause all the good and all the bad we see around us. They have the greatest sway over the intelligence and the will. He also says, egotism, self-esteem, is the sole instigator of the fundamental human passions. Envy and jealousy spring directly from them. Their refinements surpass those of chemistry. They exist in all classes of life and under all conditions. There are no worse enemies than they, sly and crafty, whom one must be careful not to offend. The art of living may be summed up thus: spare the feelings of others. Society is full of minds, says another philosopher. We don't know who, just another one.
Do you think in this context they meant like gold mines or explosives in the ground?
Context. Just let's keep reading. Society is full of minds, says another philosopher. Be careful not to strike one. You will cause an explosion and be blown up yourself. You can never take too many precautions to avoid such a catastrophe.
Unless you do take too many cautions, in which case you're being paranoid.
But maybe you're not stepping over a mine, but just like a tripwire. And by a tripwire, I mean a wire designed just to trip you, right? Like if you're stepping over a tripwire, you can like pull it up, right? Like you can pull up the tripwire. Nothing bad's gonna happen, you know?
Until you meet the ultimate prankster. Who makes you think it's a tripwire to trip you. And then it's a tripwire to explode you.
Kevin McAllister.
I was gonna try and do the
Kevin!
but
All right.
can't do it.
That's chapter 4. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video.
Chapter 5 is mistakes to be avoided. So tune in next month.
If you liked anything about that video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you would like to see more of what I do, or chapter 5, mistakes to be avoided, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and then we'll be able to see you in the next video. Bye!